And it's Ken Kraetzer for CBSI Services, our first edition for the new year 2021 in our Talking Business interview series. Talk with leaders in the fields of digital marketing, insurance, banking, customer service, and business education, and all to highlight the great work being done every day by our team at CBSI. We provide insurance-based benefits to the credit card industry and customer service management. Great job by our team working through the pandemic, serving our clients and their customers all through 2020. Now we're going to kick off the year with a friend of ours from the data list business, and she is the Executive Vice President of World Innovators based in Roxbury, Connecticut, right up by Danbury in Western Connecticut. And that is Donna Peterson. Donna, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Ken. There's no snow, but we had lovely snow yesterday, which made everything look beautiful.
Yeah, just a touch, and it's been it's been an unprecedented year for everybody. 2020 since that mid-March time when all the basketball games got canceled, but more importantly, so many work activities, education, all changed on a dime. Great job done by teachers and also, of course, healthcare workers at every level around the country. How is 2020 for you and your company, World Innovators? What was the impact on your customers and your staff?
Well, I think as soon as, COVID hit in March, everything stopped. A lot of our clients, it was a good 2, almost 3 weeks where everyone was just still because no one really knew how to proceed. And then everyone started to work from home. And then it was, how do we reach them with our marketing messages now? And is it polite to reach them at home? Because I predominantly work with B2B clients. And so there was a whole area there of just trying to figure out the best mix for our B2B clients to still try to promote their products and services. The positive for us was we work with a lot of industrial auction companies, and that is a great way to purchase equipment at a discount and get it immediately. So those auctions kind of took off because I do a lot in the pharmaceutical space. And as you can imagine, that's a hot area with trying to figure out the drug discovery for the vaccine and getting it produced. So business for those auction companies has picked up. So,
well, it's certain segments of the economy have done well. Certainly, we've seen groceries and pharmaceuticals, drugstores do well in retail, and also e-commerce doing well, and certainly the vital work being done to create and distribute these COVID vaccines, so important. Maybe, Donna, if you would, tell us a little bit about your company, World Innovators, a little bit about your history and products and services.
Okay, well, World Innovators was founded 40 years ago by my mother, Ann Peterson. And at the time she created, it was a list management brokerage company. And she was working with Frost & Sullivan, business publishers, Foresters, Caltech, and she saw a need for quality international lists. And of course, 40 years ago, they were all mailing lists. They weren't email lists or anything. And because it was 40 years ago, she had to travel around to visit these vendors. It wasn't, we didn't have the internet. So she traveled the world to meet with publishers and conference companies to talk about their lists and if they'd be willing to rent them out for a one-time use. So as the years evolved with marketing, so did World Innovators. So today we help our clients get their message in front of the right people on the right channels. There's certain channels that aren't good for certain industries. And so we've stuck to our original values of always offering clients quality lists and sources. There's several vendors out there now and different places to get lists, and they'll hey, 10,000 records for $300, that's not the space we're in. We're working with top publishers like your Informa, what was at one point Penton Publishing, what's another, BNP Media, finding quality lists to reach their target audience.
Well, that's certainly a key part of business-to-business marketing, and direct mail works for business-to-business. And we see that now. In all of us who work at home, the moment when the mail arrives is a big moment of the day, checking to see what we may have gotten, and certainly an opportunity for both for direct mail success. Tell us a little bit. We talked a little bit about. I started in the list business working for a gentleman named Herbert Dunhill, who had a list company based in Westchester County. He had two brothers, Robert and Hugo, who had their own mailing list companies back in the 1980s, and there seemed to be kind of a cottage industry in the list business, working with publishers in the Westchester, Connecticut area. How has the list business evolved? I know you said your company was founded by your mother, a family-owned business. How has the list business evolved over the years?
Well, back in the 80s, like you mentioned, there were several list brokerage management companies, and we all kind of had our own specialty. World Innovators went into that international space very early on. But what you've seen now is they've either consolidated, a lot of the list companies have either consolidated or been bought out by other companies, other data companies, advertising agencies, a lot of them have been bought up. So the boutique agencies that you used to see, there aren't that many of us left. And that's been good and bad for the industry, because list brokerage is a very important part to marketing and advertising. And a lot of people don't even know that this industry exists. Matter of fact, you and I've even talked. I talked with Ian Cross up at Bentley University, who is starting up a program all about lists and how to find quality direct mail lists, because the marketing degree that you get in colleges and universities are not teaching that. And it's important because it's not as easy as social. A lot of the young people know how to do social and get their promotions out there. But if you are selling an expensive pharmaceutical processing piece of equipment, you're not going to sell that via social. You need to reach the people one-to-one, so directly. So with a quality direct mail piece or a quality email marketing piece. And you need to know how to find the right people. Gone are the days of, just throwing out a big net and hoping people will respond, because they are being inundated with so many marketing messages. So it has to be very targeted, and your message has to resonate with the people.
Absolutely.
And so it's a big part. Yeah.
Sure. Now tell us a little bit about, obviously the list business changed, as you mentioned, with the innovation of email. I still remember when that started, and now mobile, being able to reach people on mobile. What are some of the kinds of lists that you're able to offer, some of the formats for your customers?
Ken, that really depends on the industry and what sources we're going to, because we're going to quality publishers, it depends on what marketing channels they have available. So sometimes they will let us use their direct mail list. Sometimes we can do a solo email blast. We can do a banner on their newsletter. They will do social posting for us. And of course, when they do the banners, the size of the banners are conducive for both desktop and mobile, so that they resonate correctly and are able to be viewed. And we make sure that all those banners are only placed in front of, again, the targeted audience. We don't want to go to, let's say I'm doing a pharmaceutical processing equipment. I don't want to be put up at CEO magazine. I want to make sure I'm only reaching CEOs that are in the pharmaceutical space. So our thing with our clients is always very targeted, and then what channel we use really depends on the results and the responses they're getting.
And we were discussing before that sometimes it makes sense to go to one big source of prospect names, perhaps a big compiled list, or to go to a grouping of smaller lists that may be more targeted, could be a subscription list. Tell us about some of the options on sources of prospect lists that you utilize.
Well, when you talk about the big list, and I know you're good friends with Vincent, but we will go to Starista and ask them to run us counts, and they'll run it by SIC title. And then we usually supplement it with quality publications. So like I mentioned before, it could be, if I'm in, again, that pharmaceutical space, it would be Biopharm International or Bioprocess International, very industry specific lists, or Drug Discovery World, which is a hot, like we mentioned, a hot area. If you're talking about the food space, we'll go specifically to Beverage Industry Magazine or snack food, so it really depends on our clients, their offer, and specifically who would be most interested in that offer.
Absolutely. And tell us a little bit about, you mentioned earlier that your company was founded on the premise of working with international lists.
Mm-hmm.
And, in the US, zip codes were such an innovation when they came out in the 1960s for targeting and demographics and for supporting finding prospects around a retail location. And tell us a little bit about how you work with international lists that I would imagine vary country by country.
Well, we work with them just like all the lists. When the internet and with email, it's kind of opened everything up, and more people do speak English. So we try to be sensitive to languages. We will translate our piece, at least the beginning part of our piece, if we're going to a certain country. And so we'll go to lists, we'll find out the segment of their international list. Is it predominantly English speaking? Because we're going to magazines and conferences, we'll ask them, how do you publish the magazine? Is it all in English, or do you translate it for certain parts of your subscription base? Same with the conferences. Are the conferences all in English, or what language are they in? And then that dictates how we'll respond to the people, what kind of marketing message we'll give them.
Very good. And, you've discussed the options on different marketing channels. We were talking about, between direct mail, email, and business to business channels, certainly online now. What are some of the combinations of channels that you find effective?
Not to be evasive here, but that really comes down to the industry. It really depends on, one, the titles that we're trying to reach, and the industry on how we will hit them. But the most important thing is, again, make sure you're reaching that specific target audience that will be interested in your offer. And then you create a nice cohesive strategy so that you get in front of them several times. And I don't mean just by promoting, it can't be just a sales, like we have an auction coming up or register for our magazine. I like to incorporate some educational information. Like, for instance, if it's an auction, why is it good to buy or sell in an auction setting? Or if it's a publication, give them one of the articles that's going to be in the magazine. And then at the bottom saying, if you like this article, you can subscribe. Just really incorporate a nice cohesive strategy across different channels, but then some educational and some sales.
Now you mentioned, you mentioned auctions, which some viewers may not be as familiar with. Tell us a little bit about what's involved with that.
Well, these are industrial auctions. So for instance, if Pfizer has equipment they no longer need to use, so it's surplus assets, they'll put it up for auction. And that then you want to go out and reach people that will need those specific pieces of equipment. And sometimes, you know, depending on the piece of equipment, how heavy it is, what it would cost to ship, you know, that might dictate what geographical area we'll go after. It dictates, you know, the industry, obviously, but also what title, like who will make that decision to purchase the piece of equipment. And sometimes it's just microscopes. So then we'll even go to colleges and universities, to a department head, a lab manager, a director, who would say, you know what, yeah, we could use all these new microscopes for the classroom.
Very
So
good.
it's very interesting, because it is a great way for a company to get a hold of equipment, reduce their costs, but they can also get it immediately.
Okay.
Where some of those large pieces of equipment, you might have to wait 6 months for it to be built.
That's a good explanation. I hadn't really heard of that process before, but it makes sense, and certainly important for industries.
And it also has an environmental factor to it, because if someone doesn't buy the used equipment, it gets put into our landfills. You know, it gets thrown away or scrapped, and some piece ends up in. So it's, you know, there's also an environmental recycling aspect to it also.
Very good. I mean, that's another positive. Now, tell us a little bit about some of the verticals, some of the different industries that you're serving.
Well, obviously, from my talk here today, the biopharma space is a big space for us. We do a lot in food, energy, transportation. It really depends on our clients, but we're always in that B2B space, and we help them find very specific, you know, targeted audience. You know, usually the lists we're going after for clients, we're right around that 5,000 to 10,000 names. You know, we're not the company that goes and finds you a list of 100,000 records, because we won't find that in your targeted group. If you want people who are making solar panel manufacturers in China, that's where we help people, because we really dig through all the nit and gritty to find quality lists, but that actually pinpoint a target audience.
Very good. Now, I just want you to go back to, you mentioned the importance of business-to-business marketing and direct mail. We did a wonderful interview in the fall with Debbie Roth of Jap Solson, describing how they see direct mail working, especially for business-to-business. What are some of the kinds of projects, some of the mailing pieces that you see working in business-to-business today?
Well, as you and I were talking, Ken, you know, marketing has changed, and in March it took a huge leap forward again, but your messages have to be more personal. I know everyone is hearing this. They're hearing humanize your message, be more personal, but more than ever, companies need to try to build a relationship. You know, they're being bombarded with so many different advertisements. And even you mentioned a dry cleaner recently, a local dry cleaner. They need to stick to promoting family business value, but getting to know the people. You know, if you're able to build that relationship, it's not going to be a one-off sale. I think it's where companies will come back to you over and over. So in the direct mail pieces that we're doing and email marketing pieces, we're trying to help our clients create personalized messages from an individual. So as you mentioned that it's from the CEO, have the CEO sign off on it and actually do it. You know, I don't want my clients they've got to walk the talk. You can't talk about being personal. You can't have a letter go out with the CEO's name and then find out the CEO didn't even know about it, you know, because, you know, people will find out. So that's where, you know, these smaller agencies or list brokers are going to succeed going into the future, because we are able to give a little bit more hand-holding, personal approach. You know, gone are the days of wanting a whole boardroom of executives to figure out your marketing plan. You want to talk to one individual that truly understands your company and your offer, so that they can create that type of nice humanizing, if you want to say humanizing message that will resonate with people.
Well, so important that, as I wrote something on LinkedIn this morning, that the public knows who the owner of the business is or who the salesperson is, the person at the counter is, because they relate to that and they want to support individuals rather than kind of corporate entities. Donna, you wrote a nice piece on your website. I encourage people to check World Innovators website. You talked about the 3 T's of customer relationship marketing, trust, being thorough, and tactical. I thought those are a couple of new perspectives on a key business objective.
Well, they are because, everyone can give the pitch. And, just like I just said, your message is you got to walk the talk. So your clients have to trust you. And once they start to trust you, they will divulge more information on what they're seeing on their back end. And with that, then your research and your strategies can be more thorough, because you'll definitely look into all the right avenues. For me, if a client says, all right, I'm trying to promote this offer, and I'll say, well, what's your target audience? And they might give me something broad, and I'm like, no, dig deeper. Tell me, what magazines do they read? What conferences do they go to? I want to know as much as possible about the individual so that I can go out and do a detailed, thorough research on it. And then tactical in that, you want to set up a strategy that reaches the individual more than once in a nice, cohesive way, not bombarding, like I said, but in an educational way that helps them decide they want to buy your product.
And talking with Donna Peterson, who is the Executive Vice President of World Innovators based in Roxbury, Connecticut. You described your company was founded by your mother, and tell us a little bit about how you got started and some of the avenues in your career with World Innovators.
Well, I came out of Connecticut College with an economics degree, and I started working for a real estate developer doing accounting. And I decided I didn't really want to do that, so I went back to school and started getting my license to be a certified financial planner. And I was close to being finished, but on the side, I started to work part-time for World Innovators because my mother would not let me work there right out of college. She said it was very important to go out, work for other people, and see what that was like, which I think is a great thing she did. Matter of fact, I've done it with my own children. They are not allowed to work here. They've got to go out and work for other people first to figure out their own direction in life, but also to see what it's like to work with people. And then I started liking it so much because I was working in so many different industries every day. And then I was working worldwide. So I was talking with people in different countries. And I like talking to people, which you can probably tell. But I just like that change up all the time. I wasn't sitting just talking about or doing spreadsheets or loan draws in accounting or just walking about finance. I even had a sale once of a yellow submarine. So I had to call
Yellow
people.
submarine.
Yes, yeah, it is. And it was an interesting one because everyone, their first reply was yellow submarine, and they start singing the song. But here I am trying to get someone to purchase this yellow submarine. So that's been interesting. But now with all the different marketing channels, it's interesting. It's aggravating because with marketing evolving so quickly, you almost feel like you're a hamster on a wheel trying to keep up with all the new innovations. But one thing I've learned is, we all have to stop chasing the shiny objects. We've got to know exactly our paths and just stay on those paths, and you will see success. There's so many apps, there's so much technology we could all buy, but I help clients get onto marketing automation platforms, and how I find the best fit for them, I ask them, how are you going to use it? Are you going to use all the features they have to offer? And with that, we can put them into the right platform, because if they say, you know what, I'm not going to use this, this, and this, well, don't go into this expensive platform because you're not going to utilize it. So companies need to stay true to what their path is. They've got to keep doing it where it can be as personal and humanizing as possible. And I think they'll see success.
Very good. And Donna Peterson, Executive Vice President, World Innovators based in Roxbury, Connecticut. Maybe finish up today with final thought. What trends do you see happening in 2021 as we hope this COVID pandemic starts to ease by spring or certainly by middle of the year?
Well, it's been interesting. When I started working, we didn't talk about personal life. I had clients calling me right after I had my children, like the day after. You did not skip a beat in your business life. And now with Zoom calls and children coming in, you're really getting to know the people you work with. And I think that's going to parlay into all marketing messages. Companies or individuals are going to want to really know the people they're working with. So I do see it where we're going to all have to be more real and letting people know, tell a story. People resonate with a story. Some people may not, but other people will. So if you're a working mother or, you're an avid golfer, talk about that, and those people will then attract to you. So you're going to see a lot more technology come out. And I think people just have to be careful that they don't think that getting every new object or technology device is going to be the winning, secret. They've got to pick only things that will help them and that they'll utilize.
Very good. Donna Peterson, Executive Vice President, World Innovators, Roxbury, Connecticut, leader in the field of mailing lists and business-to-business marketing. Thank you for joining us today on CBSI Talking Business.
Thank you very much. Nice talking with you.
Our pleasure. And this is Ken Kraetzer, again, representing our team at CBSI. Our headquarters is in Harrison, New York. We provide benefits to the credit card and the payments industry and customer service management. So we will have another episode very soon. And I'm here in my home office in White Plains, New York. Have a great day, everyone.